$4.6 million. We would have to buy 7 trucks, and I can go over this stuff in a little bit. 7 trucks, 46,000 carts, and then the recurring cost for the personnel per year that operates the program. Maintenance, fuel, etc. Option 3 would be to do nothing and continue with the current program as it is. This program has been in place for approximately 12 years with 3,550 customers.
Is there some way you could get together with the finance people or whatever where we can come up with projected revenues from the $2.50 and then look at the cost of the debt service on the trucks and the depreciation, you know, as far as replacing them in the future, the operating costs, the personnel costs, and all that kind of stuff, so we can look at some hard numbers? And also how you would,
but yes, sir.
and also how you would phase that in over what period of time?
City manager asked me just that same question. We would be looking at somewhere between 18 months, maybe 2 years, depending on the lead time for the procurement of materials, the trucks, the carts, and of course, if council, would choose to do that. So it would be some lead time.
Would you envision buying the trucks with the fund balance out of solid waste or issuing bonds?
I'd have to ask the city manager that question.
I'll defer to Marty. I would say that we would issue some debt and cover that with our rates.
I'm in agreement with that. The fund balance is probably not as healthy as the water and sewer funds. It would be the
I think if we look at some financial analysis on each one of these options, it might be beneficial before we have to pull the trigger on something.
we can do that.
Absolutely.
Council, do you want these explored in further detail, or does anyone want to make this? Do we have a consensus to do nothing, or do we want to look at this? Everybody want to look at this? I think it'd be good to look at it. When do you want to look at option 2, where we're going to do this?
Sir, if I could, let me just add, and Randy Doyle's here from Fort Hood Environmental Group. The Sustainable Communities Initiative has really been driving this, in Fort Hood especially. The local communities, Coppers Cove, Fort Hood, Temple, Belton, and Parker Heights are all looking at single stream recycling. Some are ahead of some of us. Fort Hood has already moved out. Coppers Cove has started their pilot, I believe it is. Temple just entered into an agreement, I believe, with Balcones to go to have their 100% recycling program. And then I know Parker Heights and Belton are looking at this as Mr. Glenmore indicated. So the initiative is moving forward, and I think you'll see in this presentation, unless you want to move to something else, the idea would be then to establish that satellite MRF where you would haul your recyclables. It looks like there's an opportunity there at the existing site at the old transfer station. And with that said, I can let him go further unless y'all heard enough.
Well, I'd like him to go further, but I just wanted to make sure that we weren't wasting our time here. If the council's interested in this, and it obviously is, then I think we need to proceed with the financial information and proceed with the rest of your briefing.
Yes, sir. We're to the end of my official briefing. We can go into questions in more details if you want.
This work that we're talking about here, and choosing the partner, I assume we're talking about Wilco and Balcones as being the 2 major players?
Wilco, Balcones, and TDS are the 3 major material recycling facilities or resource recovery facilities in this region. Yes, sir.
And would they envision putting in the single stream plant here, or would it just be kind of like a holding area and then take it to their main plants? Or?
I don't want to speak for their representative companies, but with discussions that I've had with both Wilco and Balcones, I've offered through the city manager's approval the use of the transfer station, the old transfer station, as an intermediate processing facility. This would give us the capability to prove out the program. It wouldn't cost them a lot of money for capital outlay. It would just get the facility up and running. It will be a place for us to drop these materials off. And I believe, as Mr. Morrison indicated and Mr. Doyle has put through a request for information about using that facility if it were available for outlying communities to bring material.
It is a volume issue.
Right. If we're looking at a volume issue, that means we need to get regional partners. Fort Hood Family Housing is doing single stream now.
Yes, sir.
With glass but no plastic. Right?
No, I believe they're doing plastic and glass. They're doing all of this.
Well, I understood they weren't doing the plastic bags because it gets caught up in the plastic bags.
In that regard, yes, sir, no plastic bags.
No plastic
But
bags.
plastics as in water
But they do,
bottles.
but they do glass.
Yes.
And I guess we need to look at the pros and cons of that. The other thing, if they put in a plant, in other words, we get everybody together, say that you could get Coppersco, Fort Hood Family Housing, Harper Heights, everybody in the area interested. Maybe Belton and Temple. And use the old transfer station and make a plant there, that would add jobs to the area too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yes, sir. 5 to 7 jobs, I believe, was numbers that were picked around to staff that facility for the prove-up time and however long that takes before we move beyond the capabilities of that intermediate facility.
And how many additional employees in the city have to hire?
We would employ 2 additional drivers. Right now, we would take our current drivers that we use for the curbside 22-gallon system, roll them into the single stream program, and hire 2 additional drivers.
So we're going to get all these marginal costs, look at them, and look at all the alternatives, come back to us. Councilor Clark.
Staff was finished with their part of the presentation. I was wondering if there's any representatives from either Bell County's local or.
Yeah, I know they were, because I met some of them earlier, I don't know if they're still here.
Yes, so there's a representative, Mr. James Raven, and his partner from Wilco, Mr. Steve Shannon from Falcones. They're in the audience.
I think we could probably learn a lot if we gave other people a chance to speak. Randy, do you want to talk for any? Please. Just, can you limit it to like 5 minutes?
Sure can.
Okay.
Randy Dole from 595 Duke Road.
Can I ask a question that maybe help with this presentation yet?
Okay, sure.
Because we talked about glass, no glass, single stream. I want other competitors with your 3 companies, a different name, but they have some videos out there that kind of show their machinery, and they're dealing with plastic and glass and plastic bags in one solution. So that's really what I'm wondering.
I think that question will be better framed for the experts in the audience that run those facilities.
Randy's with the Environmental Services at Fort Hood.
Correct. And I'm actually the goal leader under the Syntex Sustainability Partnership for Regional Recycling. We did a recycle feasibility study, which is to the public. I actually put on the mayor's Facebook page today a link where people can go look at this feasibility study, looked at the feasibility of doing it in the region. We just completed our RFI, which closed on the 24th. We sent to 66 vendors. We had 5 responses, 1 saying they're not in, thank you, but no thank you, and 3 respondents. I'm in the process right now of putting together I was going to call it a decision matrix, but after I got the RFI back, it's not possible for me to do a decision matrix, so I'm going to put together a synopsis that's basically going to cover the possibilities we have out there. We're going to have to be real careful because a lot of it's procurement sensitive information, so I want to make sure that we don't do that. But the bottom line is back in 2009 at our conference that we had, Killeen is a charter member of that sustainability partnership. Our in-state goal was to have a MRF, a regional recycling facility, in our area. That was the in-state goal. As we have learned as we went through this process, we can't do this alone. Again, the experts are here in the house, but we need close to 100,000, 75 to 100,000 rooftops to make it reasonable for a private entity to come in and construct a full-blown MRF. So we have expanded out from Lampasas to Eastern Bell County, north and south, working with all the city managers saying this is the initiative that we have going, that we are going to lead our region, we being our partnership, and to get this going. We've got Copperas Cove out there already, Temple, just like you've already heard. Colleen's jumping on board now, Fort Hood Family Housing.
We haven't jumped on board yet.
Pardon me?
We haven't jumped on board yet.
I have total confidence that you will. But, it's the right thing to do. And just like Mike said, there's a lot of stuff that really needs to be evaluated, but it's the right thing to do. So we'll be getting this information, the city manager's on our committee. He'll get the synopsis from us and share it with, once the committee says we can share it publicly, we will. But I think you're going to see that it's going to pay off to do it. So I mean, that's about as brief as I can be, and I'll tell you what I know. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Clark?
I believe that Murph is an acronym for something. I have a friend named Murphy, and he is a full-blown Murph, but what's the acronym?
I'm sorry, Materials Recovery Facility, correct? Yeah. Depends on what part of the country, and I've heard different names of it. They got clean MRFs and they got dirty MRFs. You can go on and on.
Any other questions for Mr. Doyle? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming and briefing us. There are representatives from
Companies and Wilco.
Yeah. In any order, you don't want to, one of you want to come forward, then the other one?
Well, that's Mr. James Rayland to come up here from Wilco and he'll give you a little. Tom, you want to answer his question to about the glass, how glass impacts the operating systems in y'all's facility?
We can recycle glass. By the way, my name's John Ray.
John Ray, sorry. My bad.
We can recycle glass, so we have the equipment to handle it. Glass brings down the value of the material. I mean, it can cross-contaminate, it can cause issues with quality. It is included in most of our current programs that we do now. It tends to have a negative value, but it increases the diversion. It really is all about what is your overall stated goal, or which is more important, increasing your diversion at a cost, or making the program more affordable but getting more diversion than where you currently are at. So it's just kind of a decision you have to make. But we have the ability to do it. We do it now. We do it for most of the programs.
Does your operation produce revenue for the city? Or are you just taking our trash, so to speak, not charging anything at disposal?
We try to share revenue. It is a commodity-based business, and the markets go up and down. We currently share revenue with all of the municipalities that we receive material from. We could put we put different pricing scenarios together where you could never see a bill from us, or you can get probably a little higher pricing when the markets are up, but you could possibly see a bill from us when the markets come way down.
I don't understand that.
Well, we make our money by processing these recyclables and selling them to end users to make new products. All of those commodities, the paper, the plastics, the glass, if it's included, the aluminum, the steel cans, the cardboard, all have a value, and they can go up and down. And so if you take the composition of your stream, what percentages of each of those components make up of the stream and the values, you come up with the value of the material, and we have processing costs associated with making that, sorting that product and sending it to market, and we share a portion of that value minus the processing cost. Is a general way of our general pricing arrangement that's done in the industry.
If your processing cost exceeds the revenue you get from the stuff that you process, then we can get a bill for the additional costs.
Yeah.
Is there a floor and a ceiling on those in your contracts?
That's what I was saying. We can structure them different ways. You see cities, I currently have contracts where cities never see a bill from us. It stops at zero. But as you know, that is us taking a risk when the markets are low, the scenario you just stated, where our processing costs could exceed the value of the material. So we have to offset that when the markets go up. So it kind of smooths out your up and down on the commodities versus a city like the city of Austin has been charged for their recyclables when the markets are down. But then they could see higher revenues when the markets go up. they're getting a higher revenue share, but a higher processing cost.
I guess I'm wondering from an analysis point of view, from a financial analysis point of view, what if any revenue do we show from the MRF or the people who are taking our recyclable materials? If any, should that be a factor at all, or should we not count that? Tough question, isn't it? Mr. Mike?
All we could do is give you history, probably. I mean, you're going to generate, what we generally do is we do sensitivity analysis of prior years, 5-year histories, I mean, however you want to look at it. And we could give you historical numbers based on what similar cities in central Texas have seen, and probably let you look at that data and see what you want to do with it.
Any questions?
Is that helpful?
Mr. Harris?
You said earlier about the for the pilot program, the 1,000 cars for $65,000.
65,000, yes.
Now, if we were to do this, now would we just be billed once for the cars, or would we bill monthly for the cars? So how would that work? Would we buy the cars for $65 and own them, or
We would buy the carts and we would own them.
Okay.
But as, and the pilot program really doesn't have a financial impact as far as long-term.
Right.
A long-term purchase of a little over $2 million or $2.5 million for carts would be something that we would have to consider. That's why there would be associated cost to that, as well as the purchase of the trucks to do that.
Okay. And you were asking, the other gentleman was asking about, you said about 100,000 rooftops to get somebody to bring in a major, I guess, recycling plant or something like that. You talking about 100,000 in the city, or just 100,000 around Cove, Temple, the area, the region? Okay.
There's no way the city of Killeen can do it on its own with 46,000 residential customers.
Right.
With the goal of building a MRF in our backyard.
Okay, just got you. Okay.
Okay, was there another question over here? Mayor Pro Tem Blackstone?
It seems like everyone's starting it up on this in our whole area. Could it be something that the area does cooperatively instead of each city doing its own thing? Could we not just do, I don't know, we could all do it together and all do the same thing and then save a whole lot of wear and tear and time and money? Do we have to be separate is what I'm saying?
I think that's what Mr. Doyle was speaking about with an RFI for a regional approach, and I have to defer to the city manager as far as any interlocal agreements or things of that nature.
I would just say, at first glance, everyone has, they either have their own service or they have a contract for solid waste services. So every community would have an individual decision making as far as coming into a regional program. As best I can tell, the cities immediately in the area are all focused in on a regional program. And so it's very important for us to get that the information that Mr. Doyle gathered for the Sustainable Communities Group and help shape the RFP that will go out for these types of services.
Mr. Oakley?
Yes, so we would do this regionally. I'm looking at the citizens. You say 250. They're gonna get a cut on that?
The citizens?
Yeah, they're gonna get a decrease on that price. We're doing it regionally.
This is where you're getting to the subtleties of all of this. The cost, and I hate to say this, but the cost to actually do this would be more than diversion or revenue that we would make. It's the right thing to do. It saves the life of our landfills. The city of Temple's landfill has a life expectancy of 15 years. We haul right now our waste to the city of Temple. Once that is exceeded or they have to do whatever they have to do for their landfill, if we have to go further than that, then you could expect our cost to haul and to dispose of to go up incrementally.
Yeah, I'm about to do the right thing, but that price has got to be right to do the right thing. You got to incentivize me.
Yes,
to want to do it.
There are variations to this. When you get into recycling, say if you have a 96-gallon trash cart and you don't need a 96-gallon trash cart anymore, you would have the ability to downsize to a cart, to a smaller cart, for less cost. But at the same time, we do have to include the cost to recycle into our utility bill. It's a recommendation.
Okay, does Connie's want to make a presentation?
Very,
Sir, if you
very
could come
briefly,
forward, give your
sir.
name, we'd be interested to hear from you as well, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My My name is Steve Shannon. I'm the Municipal Services Manager for Companies Recycling. We're the largest independent recycler in Texas. In the last 18 years, we've moved 1.8 million tons of material successfully to end-use markets. I think you're on the right track. Don't feel alone. There's a lot of people that are on the start of this curve, but rising landfill prices, diminishing natural resources are driving this. The easy to get natural resources are gone. In the last 3 years, generally, the value of materials exceeds the processing cost. It's pierced through that institutional barrier. And while it is a world market without any price supports whatsoever, nonetheless, the value of those materials is going to continue to go up. It is inevitable that landfill costs are going to rise. The cost of fuel to get distant landfills is going to rise. It's my understanding that 17 counties are hauling in, parts are all of 17 counties hauling in Temple landfill. The landfills in Travis County, 27 counties are hauling into it. So this is why you see Fredericksburg and Bastrop and all of these cities doing this. Aggregation of the tonnage is the challenge. I think you're on the right track, and the sustainable communities effort has been commendable. I want to speak to you a little bit about the glass issue. The parent material of glass is sand and a little bit of limestone. 78% of the Earth's crust is made of that. It's the most common minerals we have that are obtainable almost anywhere, literally dirt cheap. So you can get that stuff for $10 a ton. By the time you collect glass, sort it, crush it, and get it all the way to Waxahachie, there's only 2 plants in the state of Texas that take it, one in Houston, one in Waxahachie, and you're selling it for $10 or $12. You've got $80 in it, and selling it for 10 or 12. There's a reason why when you go to most parks, there's a sign that says, when you go in, no glass. It's because it's hazardous. The industry studies have shown that more than 90% of the injuries in the industry are associated with glass cuts. It breaks the equipment. You can recycle it. We do it for the city of Austin. We take all of their recyclables north of the Colorado River. We do it, but it's considerably expensive to remove it. It does contaminate the other materials to some extent. There are ways to handle that, and having drop sites for it makes sense. However, those drop sites I would recommend be secure, not just places where the kids can go down there and all of a sudden have a beer bottle fight. And this kind of thing happens, where you want it to be safe, somebody watching it and keeping it isolated, and can get it to an end-use mill without it contaminating everything else. We're very interested in working with our community. We're glad to support you in any way we can. We just built the largest material recovery facility ever in the state of Texas. We'd love to have you come see us.
Any questions for Mr. Gilmore?
Where is that plant located?
It's on Highway 290 east of Austin, just about a mile inside the new bypass on Johnny Morris Road. We'd be pleased to have you come see it.
Any other questions? So if you got that plan, you wouldn't necessarily be interested in the MRF facility here?
I think what everybody, that plant was $10.5 million. The others are multi-million-dollar projects. What we're trying to do here and working with Temple and others is aggregate ton where there would be an interim facility where some of the material would be screened out and recycled locally. But the equipment to untangle plastics 1 through 7s and cans and all that is highly sophisticated. So the idea would be to create some sort of interim facility here, recycle as much as can be economically feasible locally, and then transport the rest of it to a plant that's designed to untangle all that.
Do you all have any other questions? Mr. O'Grady?
Yes, sir. Can somebody tell me if styrofoam, is that in 1 through 7?
No, sir, that's not 1 through 7. That's a commodity all of its own.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Very much.
The next steps, council and Mr. Manager, would be endorsement by city council, budget prep or inclusion in the budget, educating the public That's a big component of this. Education is instrumental in this working well. Update ordinances, purchase equipment and carts, do an RFP or go out with a selection process for a recycling partner, and then ultimately, to really be successful in this program, we have to institute a commercial recycling program. Commercial is our business side of it. Right now, we're talking residential side of it, one step at a time. So, further questions? That's not reading.
And we will bring back the financial analysis.
I think the council, as far as guidance to staff, I think we're very interested in doing the option 2. I think we'd like a little bit more information with regard to the cost, how that's going to affect the fund balance and solid waste, how it would, we know it would increase the rates by $2.50 per household or so. But I think we'd like to explore this further, and that probably needs to be done consistent with the budget process. So we need to make some decisions fairly quickly. I think we have time to do it within the budget cycle. Council, do you have any comments? Thank you, sir.
I'll get that information to you.
Next item, DS8, discuss future development in Killeen to include building standards